Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to cover about my interview experience at Cognizant for ReactJs role. So in this video, I'm going to cover everything right from the starting till the end. So if you don't want to miss anything, stay tuned till the end of this video. So let's begin with the introduction. So as I shared earlier, we are going to see my interview experience at Cognizant. So I was being interviewed for a front-end developer role in a React.js technology. So the main question here is how did I got my interview schedule? So I have updated my Naukri profile. From there the recruiter has reached me out. So I got a call from a recruiter, and in that call we had around 5 to 10 minutes of discussion. In that discussion we discuss about my role, what job I'm looking for, what my package would be, or what my expectation are for the new job, and all those things were discussed in that 5 to 10 minutes. And after that the interview was scheduled on Saturday. So coming to the number of rounds, so there were three rounds in total. The first one was technical round, second one was manager round, and the third one was HR round. In the technical round, there were all the technical questions about React and JavaScript and HTML, CSS, whereas in manager round there were a scenario-based questions, and in HR round there were all HR like questions like what kind of uh, role I am looking for and all those things. So the technical round was around 50 minutes and the manager round was around 40 to 45 minutes, whereas HR round just took 15 to 20 minutes. So before beginning to the technical round, I'd like to tell you how the questions are splitted for the React.js interview. So basically the questions are splitted into four parts. The first is the HTML questions, the second part is the CSS question, the next is JavaScript question, and the fourth one is React.js question. So if you are preparing for any React.js interview, you should also be covering the HTML, CSS and JavaScript questions, because these are the basic parts of React.js, and this would be necessary if you want to crack an interview. So let's begin with our interview question. So the first question was about a semantic tag. So this is the most basic question. I was asked this question almost in every interview. So you should always be preparing for all the HTML tags. So the next question was about the CSS. How do I add external CSS in a HTML file? The next question was about how do I add a JavaScript or external script in my file. So the next question was like a scenario based question. So the question was like how do I add a YouTube video in my file? So in this, if the YouTube video should be add such like it should be visible on our website that we are working or that we are trying to build. So the next question again was a scenario based question. So in this I was given a two fields, username and password, and I was given a button that is a login button. So I was asked to disable the login button until and unless both the fields are filled, that is username and password are filled, only then the login button should be enabled. So and this was we need to build this in a plain HTML. This was not a React.js question, guys. This was a plain HTML question that I have to answer. So the next question was also about a CSS. So yeah, this is again the most common question. So the difference between the display none and visibility hidden. So this is again a common question, guys. So the next question was like, let's say if I want to add a button and on that button I need to add an event. So how do I do that? So this question was for a JavaScript as well as a React. And the next question was about the DOM. So if we are preparing for a React.js interview question, we should know what DOM is. And the other question in that question was the difference between the query selector and query selector all. So this was a plain JavaScript question that I was asked. So let's begin with the JavaScript and React.js question. So in this, the first question was asked to me was about the useref and how do we bind the HTML input to the useref. And whenever you are preparing any theory question or whenever you are preparing any question, you should always prepare that question with example. So whenever you try to explain anything in an interview with the example, we create a different impression or we create a positive impression on the interviewer. So that might be helpful to you if you want to crack any interview. So the next question was asked to me was again a scenario based question. In this I was actually given a login page, and in that login page I was given a login button. So the question here was if I want to uh, change the login text to the username, how do I click it? So basically the scenario here was if I click on a login button, the login text should be gone, and instead of the login text we should be able to see a username. So now the question was how do I do it in a React? What kind of things we would need to do that in a React? Now the next question was about the ES6 features. So yeah, whenever you are preparing for a React.js or any JavaScript questions, this is the must question for every interview. So the another question was the difference between let and const. The other one was how the two ways to create a React component. So the difference between the class and the functional component. So another most important question here is the difference between the class based component and the functional component. And whenever this question arises, there is the next question that is definitely asked, that is explain the lifecycle method in a class based component with some example. So here if you prepare this question with example, that would be very helpful for you. So the next question here was how do we create a React component? How do we know that React component is updated? So you should always be prepared this question with example. Example is must, guys. Remember that. So the next question in this was about the routing and how do we create a route. And another question was like if we want to route or route to some other page using a link, how do we do that? And another question was about a scenario based question. So let's say if we want to route a user to some specific page only after user is login or when only after user is authenticated, how do we do that? And in this the counter question was like how do we authenticate a user and how do we know that the user is authenticated? So this was another question. So what package do we use for router? What are higher order components? What are React fragments? What do you use? Yeah, so how do you use a Redux? So this is the most important question. So there would not be a Redux question. So basically they asked me what kind of store we are using in our project. So we were using a Redux. So that's why the interviewer asked me question about the Redux. So whatever store you are using, you need to tell that, and according to that your questions will get modified. So, but there would definitely be a question about the store. And the next counter question for this was how do we create a store, and if we want to plan, if we are planning to create any React project, how do we plan it? What kind of stores we are going to plan it, and what would be my approach to solve this question? So the final question was about the reducer and how do you make a changes in a reducer function. So that's it, guys. These were all the questions that I was asked in my interview round. And just keep in mind that these were all the questions that I was asked in my interview round. So it doesn't mean that you will also be getting the same question. Y- Just remember the React is very fast and you have to prepare every bit of it. And while preparing, you can just take the help of this video. All the very best if you are preparing for a React and if you are applying for any interview. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope this was helpful for you. If you like my video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.